This is the extended version of our talk with Loïc Gouzer, former auction house impresario and founder of Fair Warning, where he talks about his new platform, the auction market, and, of interest to me, art in the ecological and climate challenge times that we live in, which is dear to Loïc's heart. Loïc, now that it's about a year and a half since you stepped away from Christie's and you'd spent pretty much your whole career at one of the public auction houses, with that distance, what have you learned about the auction business from the outside that maybe you forgot or you didn't quite realize?
No, I think you have a different angle because you're not seeing it purely as a business getter and as a as a salesperson during the auction time, and you have a more, I would say, neutral approach to art. And I think the distance gives you a bit of a bit of air and a bit of time to think about the art and think about where the market is going, and you not just where it's going in terms of what is going to happen in the next 6 months or 3 months. You can take a step back because you have a longer perspective because you're not bound by deadlines anymore, and I think you get possibly a clear point of view on where the market is going.
Well, you've created this new app that everybody adores, and more. In fact, I'm pretty jealous of it, called Fair Warning, that only deals with one artwork at a time, and I think people want to check it out. Your last moment publicly was being the architect of the $450 million Da Vinci sale. Do you think you could do that on Fair Warning?
Selling another Da Vinci? No, because there's no more. So that by definition is not going to happen. But I think there is Da Vinci's everywhere. They're undiscovered paintings, by known artists. Actually, there's a lot. There's always like treasures to be found, and sometimes they're literally hiding in plain sight. Artists that are either forgotten or bodies of work that are forgotten, and I like the idea of like constantly, looking in what is available and like identifying something that is actually a treasure hidden in plain sight, and I really want to use this platform to.
But if Da Vinci hadn't been sold and you found it now, would you bring it to Fair Warning? You think you could get $400 million bid?
That's always difficult to rewrite history. We at Christie's, it was all the stars aligned. Would they align again? Possibly under which circumstance? Difficult to say. But I think the painting had this, despite all the marketing, despite every shtick that we use, I still think that the painting itself had this magic that just was just like you could not stop it. It has this wow factor that spoke for itself basically, and the aura and all that. So would Fair Warning be the ideal platform to do it? Probably not, but who knows? The painting had a strength in itself.
But platforms are changing. Do you see it as a post-corona kind of thing, or for you is it just a natural evolution of you wanting to deal with each object a little bit more closely? Do you see the behavior of your clients, the sellers has changed over the last 4 or 5 months, for the better or for the worse?
Yeah, no, I think that there's two things that are there at play. At first, even when I was at Christie's, and I've noticed that, of course, there's a lot of people that come to the previews, and some of them are active. But at the end, if you look through the result and who did what and who bid on what, you realize that a good chunk, and I don't have the number, I'm not a statistician, but I remember a very good chunk would buy the pictures, the works, from images, basically, from the catalog, from their phone, so I've never been really I've never been really worried about the whole about collectors really needing to come and see the work, and especially in the world we're going, where it's complicated to travel and could be potentially risky, but people are still wanting art. I do think that the people, a lot of people are going to join the bandwagon and be comfortable buying works. The images that you get now, even on a simple iPhone, are just so precise that apart if it's a photograph, like a vintage photograph, or perhaps or masterwork on paper, almost everything you can buy on.
Does that promote art that looks good on a screen? I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that the Barnett Newman that's coming up for sale, you can make a judgment based on it off of looking at it on your iPhone or your laptop, no matter what video you have to.
Yeah, that is a fair point. Actually, for an artist like Barnett Newman, perhaps an Ada Reinhardt, even a Roscoe, I don't think I'm probably purely online approach is sustainable for artists like that, where you need to literally visualize the painting moving. Like a Roscoe is like it's an active, it's almost like active principles at play, and you have to visualize it. So even the best video in the world is not going to make justice, but that doesn't mean that even with an app like the one I'm trying to launch is it doesn't mean that the work are going to be dematerialized in the cloud. They're still going to be there to be seen. They're going to it remains to be seen if I would make them travel. I prefer not to, but for essential viewing works, of course, all the works are available to be seen. But
well, I'm just worried that galleries choose artists based on they produce enough for all the art fairs, but now the art fairs are kind of over, or that the auction houses are going to say, well, we're going to choose these works because they present best. I mean, pop art presents well on camera. Maybe there's a bit of a move to that in the recent sales, so you can tell what that Liechtenstein looks like. When you were at Christie's, were you thinking how things looked in a catalog, or how they looked in person, or how they would travel, or did you just go, you loved it, that's what counted, or was it a numbers game?
No, I was really, you can ask any of my former colleagues, I was always obsessed by the cataloging, by how the work presented in the catalog. I think it's very important. It's the first experience that someone has, and many times it's the only experience. And if they don't see the work, and also the hanging, and then the lighting. I made Christie's invest so much money in lighting, because all those new light bulbs and those new this new technology that came out just to get the painting to its best, basically. So I really believe that presentation is important, because the first impact, the first time that actually your eyes cross the work, that most likely will be in a catalog, is a crucial moment. It's something that happens at that point. It's almost when you meet your future wife in the street, that you always remember the first time that you met her, and that first impression is actually crucial. So
what's interesting, we've been on a push to eliminate catalogs. I've been arguing for that for ecological reasons for a year or two. I think there was the push from the houses to get rid of them for financial reasons because they're so expensive. And now suddenly having a catalog seemed a little bit more useful to me than I thought it had been.
Yeah.
If you comment on that, but frame it more in what I know is your real passion, which is the climate change, global warming, the ecological things, all these impacts on the art world that you've really sort of been focusing all your non-business time. Could you sort of combine the catalogs into all that kind of larger picture thing?
Yeah, no, it's there for sure. Are you going to save the forest of this world if you don't stop using catalogs? Probably not, but they add up. I look at my set of catalogs. I'm only one person. They fill all my all my my drawers, they're just everywhere, and they're huge, and it feels recently, it really feels a bit anachronistic to have those catalogs, especially when now you can actually have a great experience on your phone or on your computer. And I think, I think everybody's been starting to grow uncomfortable with it. When I was at Christie's, at least for the sales that I created, I always tried to do a recycled paper. It's not the ideal because you don't have the same quality of reproduction, but yeah, I think it would be great if we can reduce the carbon footprint here. And also, I think another issue is the crating. The crating is another issue that no one talks about, but a lot of the crates are used one time. They arrive, the works arrive in auction houses, and then because they take so much space, they're discarded and destroyed, and then you recrate them when you sell them, and then same thing happens when they arrive at the collector. So that's also something I'm interested in down the line, is to work with. I know there are companies out there that are working in adjustable and reusable crates.
In a similar sense, I've been asking everybody this a little bit. Certainly there's been a focus on diversity by artists, but wouldn't you say something maybe about the diversity in the art world itself, beyond the few collectors and the few artists? Can you feel a change coming there? Or I'm sure Christie's didn't have very many. Christie's is kind of open to it now more than before, I would say, and Sotheby's and Phillips.
Yeah, no, you need diversity. You need it for different points of view. You need it for, this is how it has to be. It's true that the art world has a huge lot of progress to do. I think definitely in terms of the artists now, they're recognized more and more to their true worth, and without any preconception. But in terms of the art world, I think the art world has a bit of a problem of that diversity. Is it, whose responsibility is, how it happened? That's a whole question to debate on. Probably not for this forum, but I do think that yeah, it's crucial to get diversity and very soon. I think we're gonna get there. I'm convinced about it.
Now, I know you'd rather pick the next winner of the World Cup, which, you being Swiss, my wife being Swiss, we both believe it's going to be Switzerland. But those predictions, I would like maybe a prediction of what's one thing that you've got your eye on or might happen from this sale at Christie's.
I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see what the Martin is going to do, because I really like the painting. As you know, it was in part of the Maron grouping that went to the three big dealers, and for some reason, I was surprised they didn't sell it. Perhaps there was also the COVID situation came pretty fast after that deal was done, and the asking price, I believe, was around 38, which was a bit steep. Now I think it's interesting to see it at $30 million estimate, and it's going to be interesting to see if bringing it back at a more attractive estimate, if it could actually beat the price that was being asked. I think that people are realizing that Martin is suddenly, when everybody took him for granted in terms of availability of works and access, they're realizing that it's almost more difficult to find a great Martin than a Mark Roscoe, and I think this sense of urgency is gonna be at play here. So I have a feeling that despite the fact that it was in brackets on the market, I think this work has potential.
Well, I would expect a world record price for a minimalist work of art if you define that painting as a minimalist work.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that answer to art historian because everybody, and I'm not, I've studied art history, but I don't want to consider myself an art historian. I think Martin is, I don't want to say he's a minimalist or not, because I'm going to get in hot waters by different people. So I think he's just a very good artist, and maybe he doesn't even need a category at this stage.
So Loïc, imagine you hadn't left Christie's and we're in the coronavirus lockdown still. We probably don't have people in the auction room bidding live in November, maybe even next May. How might you be looking ahead, given people's willingness to be flexible? But what kind of additional changes do you think we might see coming in the next 6 to 12 months in the auction business?
So I think for sure things are changing, and like every areas in any industries, a lot of those changes, they're, you know, when they are not set yet, and people are figuring out as we go. But I am sure that auction houses are gonna, you know, have to invest more in technology and creating the immediacy that you're missing when you're not seeing the work. That is definitely going to happen. I also think that perhaps more than ever, collectors are going to have to rely on their relationship, not just like for, you know, for their client contact at Christie's or Sotheby's to execute bids, but to really give them advice in which they can trust, or on advisors, whoever can get in front of the work. They're gonna have to rely actually more than they ever did, and to come to the app that I'm doing. This is something that I want to try to establish the trust with collectors, where they, you know, since they're not standing in front of the work, and I can vouch for this work, and they have the trust that if I say, look, I think it's a good work, this is why it's in the sale, you should go for it. Trust me, when you get it at home, you won't be disappointed. And I think the same is going to be at play with specialists, where of course the specialists at Christie's have a lot of influence on their collectors, but I think their influence is going to grow, and the collectors' trust is going to probably have to grow also.
Loïc, you generally a pretty private person, even though you've been in a public forum for so many years. I'm sort of curious why you agreed to be on our show, The Hammer.
No, it's a good question. I think the main reason is really because I like you and I respect you, and you know, it sounds stupid, but you're not, you know, you're not that young anymore. And when I was a baby, basically, I was stealing in the gallery where I was working, literally the real Baer, the Faxt, and I was reading it. And I, you know, I don't know, I was maybe 15 or 16 or something like that. And I was like, wow, I was so impressed by that. You were my only channel, you know, living in Switzerland, you were my only connection to the art world and to the art market. Everything I knew through the Baer Faxt. So I don't want to say I grew up with the Baer Faxt, but it was my almost like the CIA cables I was getting, and this was, you know, where back then when information was not easily accessible. So you know, and then when I met you, you were already a legend for me, because you were the like BBC radio during the speaker on the BBC radio during World War II. So you were my lifeline to the art market. So and then when I met you, I thought you were a bit of a hero of mine. And then you also happened to be a great guy, and you always spoke to me earlier, even when I just started. You had no ego, and you treated me equal when I was still a junior. And so I have always been fond of you, and I think I'm not only happy to be on this show, but I'm also very honored.
Loïc, you hit 40 and you became sentimental. I think it's awesome. You know, for somebody.
No, but you always remember. It sounds stupid.
when you're in your 60s, like me.
No, but those things, again, I was talking about strong impressions at the beginning. They're very important. I remember like there was this auto show in Geneva when I was a kid, and we would go to the auto shows, and we were not interested in the cars. We were interested in the stickers and the little gadgets that people were, the stands were selling. And Sam's stand had a lot of stickers and little, I don't know, pins and things, and they would give them to you. And then others were just like, go away, kids, and blah, blah. And I remember still today, if I buy a car today, I would buy from the company who was generous with the stickers, because the others would told me to fuck off. I would never buy a Renault, because they were just not giving us. So, you know, yeah, maybe I'm a bit sentimental, or I hang on to those first impressions.
Well, it's sweet. I've always tried hard to support younger people. When David Zerner was our intern, you know, when you and I was in the warehouse, when Dominique Levy was, you know, 20, to just be good to them, and they all remember. And I'm proud of how you've all outgrown me. It's like, I'm not even jealous. I'm proud of you. So,
but I said, you made me answer this question, but I didn't know how to relay it to your initiative. So how can we do that?
Well, we'll know soon how that prediction panned out. Loïc, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with Fair Warning. We know it's a big success already.
Thank you, Josh. Great to see you, and speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this extended version, and please check out all the extended versions that are both on YouTube and on our website.